What's up guys, and welcome to the Jedi Archives. In this new video series I'll be talking about the Star Wars Legends. Each video will be about a different storyline within the Legends series, and I'll talk about this storyline, the characters, the history and the progression of that storyline. For people who mainly want to continue reading the Legends, or maybe they want to go back and read them but haven't read these particular storylines. I'll also talk about how these characters and this storyline could maybe be introduced into the new canon of the Star Wars universe that Marvel has set up. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into our first video, which will be on the Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire was a massive media blitz from Lucasfilm and LucasArts in 1996. It was an original story set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which was the first time a novel had explored this section of time. The project consisted of a novel written by Steve Perry, a video game for the Nintendo 64 and PC, toys, comic books, soundtracks, trading cards, and more. Lucasfilm wanted to do the project in the same vein as a film, as this project would pave the way for the special editions of the original trilogy in 1997 and the prequel trilogy. This project is notable because Lucas said had he had the time in the early 90s and was not writing the prequels, he would have made this into a film as well. The story sees Princess Leia and the rebels organizing a rescue mission to save the carbonite frozen Han Solo, who is in transit with Boba Fett to Jabba the Hutt's palace on Tatooine. The mission, however, is unsuccessful and Fett escapes. While the rebels look for their friend, Darth Vader is hunting down his son Luke Skywalker. However, the leader of the Black Sun criminal syndicate, Prince Shizer, has found out about Luke and his relation to Darth Vader and is trying to kill him to appease the Emperor and show Vader's failure to apprehend the boy. Shizer has Princess Leia and Chewbacca kidnapped in order to lure Luke to him. Luke, Lando and Han's smuggler friend Rendar sneak onto Coruscant to rescue the princess from the Crime Lord's palace, resulting in its destruction, which leads to a space battle between the Empire and Shizer's Skyhawk, Forlean's Fist. The novel leads into the first scene in Return of the Jedi, with Luke and Leia planning on rescuing Han from Jabba's palace. While reintroducing us to old characters like Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia and Lando Calrissian, Shadows of the Empire also introduces us to some new characters, both good and bad. The main character of the storyline is Rendar, a Corellian-born smuggler whose parents were killed by Prince Shizer after his parents refused to do business with Shizer and his transport systems. Shizer's criminal organization sabotaged their ships, making Emperor Palpatine blame them for their crash into the Imperial Museum. Palpatine exiled the Rendar family from the core worlds and expelled Rendar from the Imperial Academy. This led Dash into the life of a smuggler, and in 3 years after the Battle of Yavin was caught on Hoth when the Empire attacked. He helped Rogue Squadron hold off the Imperial ground forces as the rebels evacuated, destroying many AT-ATs in the process. After showing off his skills at the Battle of Hoth, Rendar was hired by Lando Calrissian to track down Han Solo and Boba Fett. This eventually led Calrissian to Gaul and to the Tsar system. After an unsuccessful mission to capture Boba Fett and retrieve Han Solo, Princess Leia hired him to watch over Luke on Tatooine. Dash was also present during the rescue of Princess Leia from Coruscant from the hands of Prince Shizer, and in the following battle he was thought dead as his ship exploded in the following battle with Shizer's Skyhawk. Although years later it was found out that Rendar merely faked his death to avoid reprisals from Black Sun and the Empire. The next major character introduced was Crime Lord Prince Shizer. Shizer was part of a very wealthy royal family on Forlean and head of Shizer Transport Systems. Using his wealth and power, he climbed the ranks of the Black Sun criminal syndicate. During the rise of the Empire, a biological weapon, which was one of Darth Vader's many secret projects, broke out on his home planet, causing the Empire to destroy the surrounding city, which caused the death of Shizer's family. Shizer planned revenge against Vader. His plan came to fruition when he was given the opportunity to use his transport systems to aid the Empire in construction of the second Death Star above Endor, giving him access to information about Luke Skywalker. Using this information, Shizer attempted to have Luke killed to lower Vader's standing with the Emperor, who ordered his apprentice to find the boy and bring him to him. Luke evaded Shizer, which led to a chain of events that caused the death of the prince at the hands of the Empire above Coruscant. Guri was a human replica droid and assassin. Created specifically for Prince Shizer, he used her as a personal bodyguard and assassin, as well as putting her in charge of running the day-to-day business of Black Sun. During the events of Shadows of the Empire, Shizer put her in charge of the assassination of Luke Skywalker, but was defeated by him when he launched a rescue mission to rescue Princess Leia from Shizer. Guri did manage to escape the destruction of Shizer's palace and traveled the galaxy, looking for the people who created her so they could purge her of her assassination programming and free her of Black Sun's control. It was at this point she teamed up with Rendar, who at this point was thought dead after the destruction of Shizor's Skyhook. So there are a number of ways these characters and storylines could be integrated back into the new canon. The characters are probably the easiest ones, since most die in this story or aren't seen again afterwards for a long time or not at all. Rendar could easily be brought back into canon through the Han Solo spin-off film or the inclusion into some comics. The only thing wrong with him is that he was essentially a Han Solo 2.0, a person who was there to fill in the gap left by the absence of Han Solo. His character is essentially a Han Solo copy and paste, so if they properly fleshed out the character and, made him a little bit more interesting and not just another Han Solo, he could be a real cool character. Prince Shizer is another easy one as well, since we've seen Fourlings already exist in the new canon thanks to their appearance in the later Clone Wars series. In the series, they ran Black Sun under the leadership of Darth Maul, so it would be very easy to include him as a leader of Black Sun during the Galactic Civil War. Guri is a little harder to do, since her character is literally just a Terminator, and it's something we really haven't seen in Star Wars before that. Of course, we've seen cyborgs in the new Darth Vader comic, and she could always be introduced as one of these cyborgs apprentice to Palpatine, who later either defects or somehow becomes a bodyguard to Shizor. Shadows of the Empire also gave us the explanation behind the famous Mon Mothma line from Return of the Jedi. Many Bothams died to bring us this information, since in the book we see Luke meet with some Botham spies who have the second Death Star plans, only to have them all killed by the arrival of some assassins who were hired by Black Sun to kidnap Luke and bring him back to Shizor. There's something that could be definitely be brought back into canon, since it was a pretty great scene for Luke as well, and sort of progressed his sort of trial as a Jedi, since he was able to test out his Jedi mind trick on one of the guards that let him loose, and he was able to escape and everything. And it sort of builds up sort of suspense for the one we see in Return of the Jedi, where he uses the mind trick on Bib Fortuna and then later Jabba the Hutt. The book also shows Luke's construction of his second lightsaber, the green one that we see in Return of the Jedi. And what's really interesting as well, that I don't know whether it was like something like of a printing error or something when all this stuff was released for Shadows of the Empire, but there was, I think, some of the comics and even the front cover of the actual book show Luke's lightsaber as being yellow, and I think they actually referenced that in like some later books that were written after that in the expanded universe. I'm not too sure. I know Luke did actually make a bunch of different lightsabers, so it's pretty neat that they actually, I guess, he actually made a yellow lightsaber before he made a green one. It's never really explained or like confirmed, but it's pretty cool to think, and it also gives the really cool introduction of constructing a lightsaber, which I don't think before then had actually been shown in a book. Like, it shows Luke reading from Obi-Wan's journal, which is in the new continuity, but in the new continuity it's just a collection of short stories from Ben Kenobi's life, and in this one it shows him how to make a lightsaber, and he collects all the parts in Mos Eisley as he's hiding out on Tatooine, and he has to like make the faucet for the crystal and everything, and he isn't too sure whether it's going to blow up or not when he makes it and everything, which is really cool. Of course, this is negated by the fact that there is a deleted scene of Luke from Return of the Jedi making a lightsaber, though, in saying that it is a deleted scene, so it's not actually in the film. So it'd be really cool if we actually get to see him make the lightsaber in a comic or a book or something, which would be really cool. I really like that part of the whole way of the Jedi, how they actually have to make the weapon, and I really like that they go into talking about he made the weapon like Obi-Wan Kenobi's, because that's how it was in the book, and it was sort of a way to pay homage to his master and everything, which was really cool. So yeah, that is Shadows of the Empire. It's definitely a really cool part of the Legends canon. I really like it. It's one of the novels I actually read maybe once a year. It's a really great novel, and the game was really great as well. It was on Nintendo 64. I remember it was one of the first games I ever owned on that console. But yeah, it was really cool. I'd really like to see them bring these characters, or at least a form of these characters and storyline, back into the canon and integrate them in with this new stuff that's happening with these new movies and these new characters that we've seen in the comics. I think it'd be really great. So as usual, check out our Facebook page, Star Wars Cinematic Galaxy. Lots of cool stuff happening there. I'm doing my 6 weeks of Star Wars at the moment. It's really close to being finished, and Force Awakens is coming out, so keep an eye out for my review on that, and keep an eye out for more videos in the Jedi Archive section. Thanks.